Welcome back, guys. Week 3 is in the books, and we have suffered a nasty defeat to the Dallas Cowboys. Before we get started, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on those notifications down below, and let's not waste any time and get straight into talking about what happened in this past game. We were dominated by the Cowboys 30-6, but there's so much more to the story than just the score. Before we get into the big headlines, let's talk about the minor stories, starting with the Dallas offense. Overall, Dak Prescott had a pretty quiet day, throwing for just over 200 yards and an interception, but he managed the game very, very well. He made some key throws on third down and consistently moved them down the field throughout the first half. As a result of that, CeeDee Lamb had a pretty average day as well, but credit where it's due, 4 catches for 62 is still a solid day, and a lot of times when Dak needed that third down conversion, he went to CeeDee. And the other guy he targeted in those situations was the 18th year vet, Mercedes Lewis. I don't think he's ever met Father Time, as at 39 years old, he was the leading receiver for his team, bringing in 6 for 64. The run game for them just could not get going, however, as Tony Pollard only managed 35 yards on 18 carries. That is less than 2 yards per, and they might be missing Ezekiel Elliott more than they thought they would. This offense was held in check due to a phenomenal effort from our Cardinals defense, and it starts with a guy who was on an early season tear, Zaven Collins. He led this team once again in tackles, dominating the run game with 3 TFLs, and he even came away with half a sack. Budda Baker was another guy who did well against the run this week. He went number 2 on the team in tackles, and he got in the backfield twice to bring down Pollard for a loss. One of the big stories during the game was the injuries to the Dallas O-line. They ended up losing 2 starters and a backup, and it showed as we took full advantage, coming away with 4 sacks on the day. Let's start with our preseason trade acquisition, Bryce Huff. He was just bullying third-string tackle and got to Dak twice on the day. Isaiah Simmons had a pretty solid day, finishing with 6 tackles. He came away with a sack to end the third quarter and force a punt, and he capped off his day with an easy interception to save them from points. And lastly, the rookie corner Garrett Williams got called in on a blitz, and he met up with Collins at the QB to make the big stop on third down and force the field goal. And field goals were one of the most popular plays in this game, as our defense continued to hold strong in the red zone, not giving up a single offensive touchdown the entire day. But the former MLS defender Brandon Aubrey cleaned up for them, going a perfect 5 for 5 on field goals and being responsible for a total of 16 points on the day. Switching sides to the Arizona offense, our run game was one of the few things working, as Connor and Clement combined for just under 70 yards on 17 carries. Solid production throughout the day, and good run game can get you far on any day. But the Dallas secondary simply dominated our passing attack. Colt McCoy could not have started worse, only throwing for 18 yards, and he completed more passes to the other team than to us. And this performance earned him a trip to the bench before halftime. David Blau then stepped in at QB, and while he didn't stand out, he did get this offense flowing a bit, as he threw 15 for 26, 175 yards, and in comparison, only threw 2 picks of his own. There weren't many positive plays to talk about with all the interceptions, but the best play has to be this catch from Hollywood Brown, where he broke inside on the scramble drill, and McCoy tossed him up a ball for him to make a phenomenal catch with the defender all over him. Now, before we get to the brutal 6 interceptions, let's talk about the Dallas pass rush, as they kept forcing that ball out. They finished with a total of 4 sacks on the day, and we'll start with Micah Parsons. He was pressuring almost every single snap, and he combined with a teammate twice at the QB. One of his sack pairings was with the Pro Bowl defensive end, DeMarcus Lawrence. He made quick work of Calvin Beachum on the outside and got home for the big play. And the 2 out-of-nowhere guys to make an impact were the veteran Jonathan Hankins and the 25-year-old Osa Odigizua, who combined for 2.5 sacks themselves. Now, we move to the huge day the secondary had, and it all started with their Pro Bowl corner, Trayvon Diggs. He got his first pick late in the first quarter, following a fumble from Arizona that they returned for a touchdown and eventually got called back a review. And then he got another on the very next drive taking away an errant throw from McCoy. Next up was the former Viking Anthony Barr, and he just capitalized on a very bad throw. Way behind Clement, and he makes the easy play to secure the ball. Then, on the very next drive, McCoy's day met its end as he threw yet another INT, this time to Jordan Lewis. He took it to the end zone for the very short pick six return, and that would end his day. Because after that, we brought in David Blau, and we went without another turnover for a while until the start of the fourth quarter, when Gilmore nabbed one looking for McBride and returned it 70 yards for the second pick six of the day. And then they ended off the feast with the sixth and final interception going to the second-year corner, Daron Bland. This one went straight to him, just put his hands up and took the ball away for his team. Not only was it a tough game, but we came out of it with the injury report filling up very quickly. Now, all the timelines on the screen are before the week is simmed, but adding on to the prior Ojulari injury, we had two starters and a key backup go down as Kaiser White ended up tearing his abdomen, and both the center Froholt and our veteran tight end Ertz dislocated their elbows. Ertz will be back after next week's game, while Froholt and White will be missing an extra game after. As we moved on to the next week, we saw that the Broncos ended up signing safety Israel Mukuamu off of our practice squad, a solid signing to fill out their defensive backfield, but that opened up a practice squad spot for us. And we ended up bringing in the third-year safety out of Syracuse, Ifatu Melifonwu, a guy who played his first 2 years in Detroit, looking to work his way back on the active roster here in Arizona. Now, we can take a look at the news headlines from around the league for this week. Down in Tampa Bay, it looks like the Buccaneers star wideout Mike Evans is going to be out of action for the next few weeks with an injury. A big loss as they're looking to go back-to-back as the NFC South champs. Everyone is still talking about the impact Zaven Collins is making after he finished with an astounding 13 tackles with 3 going for a loss. And last but not least, the Broncos came up with a massive win, blowing out the Dolphins 42-3 in Miami. I'm not sure what's more fascinating, that the Broncos found a way to put up 42, or that they held the high-powered Miami offense to a mere 3 points. And with not much to do from a managerial standpoint this week, we can now look ahead to our upcoming game, in which we have another tough against an NFC juggernaut, one of our division rivals, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, a positive story for us, they are coming off an upset defeat at home against the Giants. This was a pretty even game, but the true difference maker was that they let the Giants get hot too early, and Brock Purdy throwing 2 massive picks early to put them in a rough position on defense. And if the Giants can get it done, there's no reason we can't do it too. Looking towards the Niners, we have to talk about their key players to watch out for, and it starts with one of their best tight ends in the league, George Kittle. He's had a quiet start to the year, only picking up 5 catches over the first 3 games, but he is a massive threat no matter if he's catching the ball downfield or blocking in the run game, which he further proved last year, earning himself a Pro Bowl nod. Maybe the most dynamic player in this league is their superstar running back, Christian McCaffrey. He was brought over from a struggling Carolina team a year ago in exchange for a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round pick in this most recent draft, and what a move it was. He is a threat as a runner and as a pass catcher out of the backfield, averaging a touchdown a game, and there may truly be no stop for him as he has had 100 yards on the ground in each of his first 3 games. Their defense does not get any easier as we start with the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa. Just such a dominant threat off the edge. He is coming off a 18.5 sack season a year ago, and he's off to a hot start with 3 this year in just as many games. And their defensive anchor in the middle of the field is middle linebacker Fred Warner. He's coming off an all-pro season last year, and he is locked down in coverage, making it a no-fly zone over the middle, not to mention his multiple contributions in the run game. Now that we know who we are going up against, it's time to set the game plan for this week. Starting on defense, this is one of the most balanced teams in the entire league, in the top 11 in both passing and rushing yards. but I think the greatest threat for us is Christian McCaffrey. We are going to focus on defending the outside run, not letting McCaffrey get in space to make plays happen. On offense, we are going to be tested against yet another dominant defense, but with this one, we will probably have a better chance against their secondary. So we are going to focus on throwing the ball deep. We will make sure to send double teams Bosa's way, and let's test the corners with Wilson and Moore downfield and see if we can find some ways to come out with some big plays. Before we set our goals for the week, we held our weekly press conference with the media, and they obviously had some tough questions after such a brutal loss. We were asked about how our team has struggled out of the gate, and when that happens, a lot of the blame is usually placed on the quarterback. They asked who needs to step up, and we defended McCoy by saying the age-old saying is that football is a team game. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and we take blame as a team. No one player can pull us out of it. We all have to dig out of this hole together. And we came out of this thinking how big an upset win in San Fran could truly be to us taking out of that hole. Following this, we were now ready to set our goals, and they were as follows. First, same as last week, we want to get 15 or more first downs. Getting first downs means playing efficient football, keeping possession, and limiting an explosive offense's opportunities at points. Next, we want to get 200 or more offensive yards. Facing yet another brutal defense this week, moving the ball is going to be difficult to come by, and we have to be grateful for anything we can get against these guys. After that, we said we want to keep them under 31. A pretty large margin to work with, but with all the stars they have across the board, we have to be ready to have a shootout with them if it comes down to it. And lastly, we want to get an interception. Purdy is coming off a game in which he threw 2 against the Giants, and if we can get to him early, halt his confidence with a turnover or 2, this could become a very different game very quickly. We finished up practice for the week, and unfortunately, we added on to the injury report as our starting free safety, Jalen Thompson, got turf toe, which will keep him out of action in one of our biggest games of the year. But we are not the only ones facing the injury bug, as the 49ers Pro Bowl fullback, Kyle Juszczyk, will be out as well after suffering a broken finger in practice. A huge blow considering all the things he does for that offense, but now we have a lot of moves to make in regards to the depth chart. On the offensive line, we will be moving the second-year Lacita Smith into that starter role. For the linebackers, Zaven Collins will be sliding back into the middle, while the duo of Cam Thomas and Dennis Gardick will be manning the outside. In relief of Thompson, we will be sliding Simmons back to his original safety position to go alongside Baker, and that means the former Packer Chris Barnes will take over the sub-linebacker role in this game. And with that, we have completed everything we needed to do for this week. If you guys enjoyed, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications down below, and I will see you all next time as we head into San Francisco for our first divisional matchup where we take on the Niners. Catch you all then.